Hello and welcome to another video. So today I'll be trying something new and doing a review on a HO scale locomotive. This is the Auscision Models Victorian Railways L-Class electric locomotive, and my version is, I'm not sure if you can see it there, L1170 in VR blue and gold. So let's get into opening it up. I have had this open before, but I've tried to repack it as I got it. So as you can see, when you open, you are greeted by some paperwork. This is stuff about this is instructions and all its features. So there you go, you can kind of see a list, but I'll go over them myself as well. And then here you have the exploded parts diagram. So if you do ever need any replacement parts for whatever reason, you can get them from here. And normally Auscision models will replace them for free, which is very good. Now, when you open the box after the paperwork, you'll have this piece of foam, which when you peel that away is the model. And they have it packed in pretty well in this block of ice, I think they're called, which will protect it even if if it gets shaken around or anything. They have warnings and danger stuff like make sure the pantographs are down because you don't want to damage them, and please read the instructions before removing the model, just like kind of like the standard stuff. But when you do get to opening it up, you remove it from there. You'll take the sleeve off, which then underneath there is this kind of like casing, I guess. Remove this off. Sorry, a bit of a horrible noise there, but that's how it is. And then you have the model, which is quite heavy, and now we'll get into looking at the details. Now that I have it on a piece of track, I can start showing all the details, of which there are many. So just looking at it from just a kind of like standard point of view, I suppose, you can see that they've got the colours pretty much spot on for the Victorian Railways blue and gold livery. You can also see that the printing, I think it'd be, on the front, where you got the VR winged logo, is also done very well. It's very crisp, very nice. You can also see, if I bring it up a bit closer, you have where it says, focuses, the radio equipped, which kind of indicates it's a bit of a later version of the L-Class. Then also you also have the number plates, which are, I'm not sure if they're brass or not, or like etched, but they are at least separately fitted, and I think that's good because I think a printed number plate would kind of detract from the realism. You also have some crew figures, which I always find is a nice feature, where you don't have to fit them yourself. And even on the front, you've got these little windscreen wipers, which I think is also a nice little touch. Obviously they don't move or anything, but that could be interesting if that's ever able to be done. You've also got horns, which are also very well molded, pretty much like everything on this. Auscision seem to have a pretty good quality standard. Although you can see a little bit of the circuitry and wiring through these little windows, but to be honest, I don't think it's that huge of a deal. I mean, they're very small. It's very difficult to notice while it's running. In the other cab, there are no crew figures, and there's no painted cab, which is standard for most Australian model trains, which I've seen. And then when you get down to the bogies, which I'll lift it up to show, you can see there is lots of nice separately fitted details there as well. Like this little, I think this is to do with the speed, but I'm not 100% sure. You got the brakes, and I think those on the back may be Sanders. And while I've got it lifted up, I'll show you the underside, where you have these two air tanks, I suppose. I'm not very good on all like the working stuff, if you know what I mean. And then underneath you've got these two switches, which essentially these are to allow the lights to be on or off. I have both on, so I think, I'm not sure which it is exactly, but one is the lights that show the direction, the indicator lights, and the other are the headlamps. So you can kind of figure them out with a bit of trial and error. I'm just going to put it back onto the track. On the front you have, well, I guess fronts make sense too. You have the indicator or marker lights. You have the headlight and some more cables, which I think are used for connecting multiple units. Just down there, those little bits. Separately fitted lamp irons. More little details like vacuum pipes, couplers, cut levers, all the things you'd expect. And of course the lights do work. And I think you can also see, if it's in like the right lighting, the number boards also have a bit of light coming through them. On the top you got the pantographs, which can be raised and lowered. And you've also got these, which I'm not sure what they are, but they're there. You've got this nice fine wire down there, which is kind of like, it's like a super hard plastic, so like it won't snap or anything. You've got some nice little steps as well underneath the driver's doors. And you got these couplers. I'm not sure if they're KD or not. I'm not really sure, but they do work well. Oh, you can't really see them. There they are. They do work well though, from how I've used them. But yeah, that's pretty much all on the detail. It's well detailed. It's accurate, which I guess is kind of like the final verdict. And that's all it really needs to be. It doesn't need to be super over the top. And yeah, I've also heard, just like a side note, that the pantographs can pick up power. I'm not 100% sure on that. I haven't tried it, but I've heard that that's also a thing that can happen. And of course they're nice and sprung, so I suppose if you had an over wire they could bounce around a bit. Alright, I think I'll put it down onto my track and I'll be able to show you a bit of the running. Just before we get into the running, I'll give you a brief history of the L-classes. When it comes to the history of the L-class locomotives, they were ordered from the English Electric Locomotives Company back in the late 1940s, when they were electrifying the Melbourne to Traralgon line, because they needed a mainline electric locomotive, which is what the L-classes are. The original order was for 17 locos, but the order was increased to 25 for the Geelong electrification, which of course never eventuated. The first L-class arrived from England in 1953. The locos had to wait for the electrification to be complete. In the meantime, a few ran suburban goods services, but most were stored. The L's performed well on passenger services, but on goods they didn't perform as well, which generally led to them being double-headed to increase power and reliability. Out of the total 25 L-classes that were ordered and in service, 4 were preserved, being L1150, the leader of the fleet, also known as R.G. Wishart, L1162, which is at a LEC rail, L1169, which is also at a LEC rail, and L1160, which is also at a LEC rail. My example, L1170, was scrapped in early 1988 in the Victorian Railways blue and gold livery. Speaking of liveries, they carried 4 liveries in their life: Victorian Railways blue and gold, Vicrail tangerine and silver, V-Line orange and grey, and V-Line orange test scheme. The only one carrying the V-Line orange test scheme was L1163, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, I'll put a thing on screen saying which one it actually was. But that's about all for the history. So I guess now we can have a look at the running. Okay, so before we start running, I'd just like to mention I've almost had this for a year now. So it's probably due for a service pretty soon, which just means it needs a bit of an oiling. So yours may run better than this after you've run it in, which mine's also run in as well. So let's just see how it goes. And I just cleaned my track as well, so this should be about as good as it will get. So as you can see, it's very slow and very smooth. There is barely any jerkiness in there at all. I'm pretty sure the mechanism has flywheels as well. So there it goes in the other direction. You can also see, though, you might be able to see those lights now as well. A little bit flickery just because it's on DC, so the lights are not going to be like perfectly on all the time. But as you can see, just the running you couldn't really ask for much better, could you? And especially, bit of a jump there, especially when you get up to like more moderate speeds, you can see that it runs flawlessly. Absolutely wonderful model. And so quick, this doesn't really confirm if it has a flywheel or not, but if I just pull it back a little bit more, sorry, freehand, I'm holding the camera right now, so maybe a little bit shaky, but if we just charge it up a bit, yeah, that has a flywheel. You can just tell that the way it's slowed down. Alright, so why don't I couple it up to the rake of wagons I've got there, and we can see how it pulls. Alright, let's have a look how the couplers couple. Now, all my wagons are kit built, so I'm not going to completely blame Auscisions or the L-Class if they don't couple like 100% first time, because it could very well be my moderately skilled kit building, but let's see. And even with that, they seem to have coupled pretty well. There you go, see? Alright, I'll get a better camera position and we'll do some more filming. So as you can see, running with a small consist of wagons at around this speed, it runs quite well. The lights stay on. It really is just a great model, which I feel is, if you want to start in Victorian Railways, I feel it's a good beginner's model as well. I mean, any Auscision model is pretty good for beginners, locomotive wise, but I feel the L-Class would be a pretty good choice under any circumstances. Alright guys, so I think I'm going to call it there. I mean, like and subscribe if you want more content like this. Follow my Instagram, I also do posts over there. But yeah, hopefully I'll do some more model reviews later. See ya.